Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Eevee Variety, and today I'm going to show you a little sneak peek at the comic adaptation of Little Miss Steel. Now, I've been talking about this series for a little while now, and you probably know it as the novel series that is on Tapas, and you can read almost all of it today. In fact, the ninth chapter, as of recording, just released. There's 10 chapters in book one, or 10 episodes, I guess you could say, and you can read all of them completely for free on Tapas. Now, if you had the patience to wait for a full comic adaptation, I'm in the works of trying to get that to you. It's still unsure whether or not I'm going to be able to do the entire series or not. The main goal right now is to make a comic adaptation of the pilot, chapter 1, and which includes the prologue as well, and to make it presentable to publishers that I can send this to, I could send physical copies to, and I can try and wow them with this. I can try and show them that I know what I'm doing as far as storytelling, and my art's not too bad. Not to pat myself on the back, but that's the goal with this. That is the main idea is to attempt to show publishers what I'm about and how my stuff is, without having to do, relying on a novel, so to speak. A book is not going to catch people's eyes like a photo would, like an art illustration of a story. Basically, that would get much more eyes on it. And in general, I think that's true, not just for publishers, but for viewers as well, especially in the low attention span world of today. Thank you, TikTok. Anyway, rant aside, I want to show you my progress on this. Now, I am showing you this through Global Comics. I am using the preview feature. This is not available live to see. You'll only be able to see it through this video. And the reason for that is because this is not going to be a digital comic. This is going to be a physical print comic. I'm going to print these. And whatever proceeds come out of it, I'm going to fund my brother's cancer treatment. He is starting chemo next week, and I really appreciate all the donations that you guys have done through the GoFundMe. But in some case, some people want to not just donate, but they want something in return. That's what I'm working on. I'm working on this comic as a way to return thanks to you guys for donating. You can essentially think of it this way: you're donating to get a comic. So I'm trying to, do all forms of trying to support and trying just to help out with this, because it is a huge financial burden for treatment such as this. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and look at this. Let's go ahead and check out the pages. So if you are familiar with the novelization on Tapas, this should look familiar to you. The prologue is actually comprised of all illustrations drawn by Sixus. You can check him out on DeviantArt. He does commissions and a lot of anime and comic book superheroes type of fan art. He even likes to do crossovers where he has, like, say Spider-Man and Blue Beetle. How would they look fused? How would their costumes and stuff look? And he does stuff like that, and it's really good. So I wanted him to do an 80s style for the prologue. I wanted him to kind of make this feel like an 80s style comic book. And this really, as soon as I saw the soldier running away, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. Like, this, immediately this one nailed it. The tone for this. So you see, this newspaper gives you have to do some reading. All right, it is a comic. You have to do some reading. Okay, I understand. Attention spans. You see this block of text and you're like, oh no. Well, the good news is really you don't have to read much of the text. If you really wanted to, I've made it to where you could read the title of the article and look at the picture and get the main idea of each of these. But there's so much juicy lore bits thrown in here in the newspaper articles, so you'll want to read all of those. And obviously, I'm not going to read all of these. I'm just going to really just show you the progress of what this is. I even got a napkin to get the paper texture detail to the newspapers. And yeah, then I just like add in some distortion, some cuts and stuff like that. Some stuff's been torn out because these are old. These are 20 years old. Some of them. Uh, so they're not going to be in perfect condition. But yeah, so then you got Miss Steel, friend or foe. You got her punching what appears to be a burglar with a crowbar and knocking a tooth out. So yeah, so this guy this guy is not feeling too good. But yeah, so that's basically what this is all about. You get to see Miss Steel, trying out being a hero, and it seems to be going good. The reception is positive from the people of Arizona where she has landed. And she has been kind of hiding for a little bit, but she comes out of hiding to help people. And then we get to the next one, Miss Steel added to the Mighty Five. This introduces a pretty central character group known as the Mighty Five, of which Night Vision is leader of. And this article sort of goes into the history of the Mighty Five, which is very important, where it talks about how Eduardo Night Vision was very recently elected leader after the former leader left. And before you can figure out more about that former leader, the article is damaged, so you cannot read it. You can also check out Ramon's Italian cuisine as it comes to Phoenix. Check that out. And then finally, the fourth and final news article for the prologue, Miss Steel pregnant? This is basically setting up the idea of Little Miss Steel. Now, if you notice on the first one, it's Miss Steel. Look at the T. Then you can go over to this new logo, which is Little Miss Steel, and now the T has this block in it that makes it appear also like a V. Intentional, because Veronica's nickname is V-E-E. This is sort of a way for the logo to tell both names of the main character. I'm really proud of that, by the way. I want to point that out because I don't want people to miss it because I'm really proud of this. Anyway, moving on, we had the first actual pages of my artwork, which is transitioned from the 80s style to now it's taking place in 2002. So now I put my 2000s cartoon style spin on it. As you can see, very dry area. Got some rocks and stuff. Got a bunch of buildings in the background of the city. There's some smoke rising over the horizon. What could this be? Oh, it is the bus. So the bus is driving along. Little detail, there's a snake under here now. Just wanted to add just something like that. Just a little funny, I guess. Then we move on. Bus hits a pothole. Oh no, Amy is going flying, so much so that she breaks out of the frame. Oh my. She has bonked right out of the frame. And what this does is it kind of shows you the style that I'm going for. Obviously very exaggerated, very sort of anime inspired, but also 2000s cartoon inspired. A lot of people look at my stuff and say that it makes them think of Teen Titans, Danny Phantom, Star Wars, Clone Wars 2003, and I kind of led into that even more. The more people told me that, the more I tried to make it look even more like it, and I feel like I've gotten a good grip on what my art style is. This is it. So now there is, if you look at some of my other work, this isn't quite as detailed as far as the shading goes on the characters. I purposefully toned it down because I knew if I were to go perfectionist mode on every single frame, well, I wouldn't be making this video now. I'd be making it 1 month later. And I'm trying to do this in a somewhat, not a rush, but a somewhat, quick pace because I'm trying to print this out and show it to publishers and maybe get some support along the way from people buying the copies, helping my brother out. Trying to do that in a somewhat quick pace here. So, anyways, Amy is complaining about her head getting hit, and V is telling her that she's got to hold on to the seat, the bar at the below the seat, which in this frame you get to see the first glimpse that this is in fact Little Miss Steel because look at her hand. Her hand is made of metal, and she's saying she's got a really good grip. Plus, she is fat. She's not really fat. She's She's not as skinny as Amy. Anyway, but detailed like gum and trash at the bottom of the driver's little quarters here. Hits the brake, slams on the brakes. So you got the skr, and then Amy slams against the back of the seat. And if you're asking why it's displayed like this, it is displayed like a comic book would be. You know, one page, then you got the other. So top left down to the bottom, then you go to top right down to the bottom. Just in case any of you manga readers are confused. Anyway, her head hits the seat, gum covered seat, and gets flattened like a lollipop. So she shakes it out, takes off the lollipop. She gets up and she's like, we got band practice, and she's like, all right, I'll see you then. And then she's sort of looking out the window here. You get a little bit of a monologue of her talking about her hometown. She doesn't really like it because it's boring. She wants to move out. She wants to make it big time with her band. Doesn't want to come back to this house ever again. So not only are we introduced to the main character and her friend Bus, we are also introduced to sort of a conflict immediately that she doesn't want to be a superhero. She wants to be in a band. She wants to make it big time in a band. And this is her living situation. So immediately, people might be thinking, well, why is she living in a crappy house if she's got superheroes for parents? And that answer is laid out later. No spoilers. Anyway, so she grabs the fence. As you can see on this frame, there's a fence back here that goes to the back. The front door is boarded up, so she has to go to the back. So she grabs the fence, starts going towards the back, and then steps in poop. She is angry at Cutie, which is her dog. What I say about pooping on the path? Cutie is unbothered, completely unbothered, no thoughts. Of course, she's saying it. I can't stand mad at you. She gives her a good pet. Good old Cutie. Funky dog. Then she's stepping up. This is actually based off of my dog growing up. Her name was Cutie. I spelled it wrong though. I spelled it with a Y instead of IE. And so a lot of people would say, "Oh, is this Cuddy?" I'm like, "No, it's Cutie." So there's a little lore for you. So she's walking up the steps, opening the back door, comes in, and then her mom is here, saying, "Why no use the front door?" She corrects it, "Why not?" Tatiana does not speak very good English. It's hard to unlearn alien language since she is an alien. Talked about Eduardo, Night Vision, her father, V's father, and saying, fixing the front door is on his to-do list. V starts complaining about the to-do list being very long, and her mom, Steel, is trying to warn her that she shouldn't be talking bad about him, but V just keeps interrupting her. Deadbeat. One good reason why I shouldn't call him a deadbeat, and then boom, Night Vision is in the living room behind her. Little sweat drop here. Her looking a little concerned. I feel like this is a pretty solid reveal for not only both of her parents, but how the family dynamic is, or the lack of a family dynamic. It's very much just all dysfunction. All dysfunction, no function. So she gets a little spooked, sits down on the couch. This is one of my favorite facial expressions I've ever drawn. This is just it's so good. So Night Vision talking about her father. He's talking about how not going to take her disrespect, and he's also going to he's not going to let Tatiana, which is Miss Steel's real name, not going to let Tatiana get away with letting her not take the hero work seriously. Time for her to begin her training. But of course, V, as mentioned earlier, V does not want to be. Wants to be a drummer in the band. So she's not really liking this. She's asking, why don't I get a say in this? And Eduardo is not really giving her anything. He is just basically ignoring whatever she's saying, whatever she wants, anything. So at this point, he's saying it's time to go. We're gonna take the teletunnel, whatever that is. And V says, "Nah, I'll take the front door." And then the boot come in, steel leg. Look at that, some powers being used again, demonstrating she has super strength by kicking a door in half, straight off of its hinges. And of course, Night Vision sees this and he's not happy about it, so he tosses a little grappling thingy. I actually don't know what this is called. I see a lot of, like Batman and what's his name, what's his name? Not Daredevil. Maybe Deadpool. I think it's typically like the powerless sort of hands-on fighters, more street level heroes that use this type of gadget. And so he's got a little bit of an action shot here showing the exaggeration, how the hand gets closer to the screen and the outline of the hand gets thicker than it is over here, to show the distance being covered. But he throws that out. It's spinning, and there's her leg. Oops, she has stepped up, and the thing has missed. And that's all you get for now. I'm not gonna show you anymore. That's just a taste of it. I wanted to just show you just the kind of beginning of this, the prologue, the beginning scene on the bus, transitioning to the house scene where an argument takes place, and that sort of kicks off the action here, where you get to see where I think my style excels the most, which is action scenes. I think especially when you look at 2000s cartoons, uh, the big thing back then was action. The fact that the animation had gotten so much better and the action was so much smoother. Um, that's that's really what made that era of cartoons the best in my opinion, because it was far more focused on animation and making a cartoon that people would like to watch rather than trying to lazily throw out something and hope for a profit, which is very common nowadays, unfortunately. However, I think that can change, and I would like for I would in a pipe dream I would love for Lil Miss Steel to be the start of that changing, but uh, unlikely as it is, technically it's possible. So the whole goal of doing this is to show off this style, and to pitch it to comic publishers, and see if I can first get, take on a writing role for the series and have a professional artist who has the time to do this fully, um, to to basically come in and do the art for me while I do the writing. The writing is pretty much done. The novelization is there. It just takes a little bit of adjustment from from writing a novel to a comic, because in a novel you can be a bit more wordy. You can use the dialogue can be longer, and you don't really risk boring the audience, because if someone is sitting down reading a book, they're here to sit down for a while, read. Whereas a comic, it's much more of a visual thing. People aren't here to read paragraphs of paragraphs. They're here to look at how the visuals tell a story, and that's sort of the challenge of adapting it from a novel to a comic, is uh trying to get it to where the story is still effective, still good, but trying to use less words to do it, trying to make it flow a bit better with the visuals as well. That's something I've done completely different working on this than I have anything else before. Is the artwork I'm working on? I'm working in the grids that I plan to post these in. So, like for instance, here, I drew this entire thing vertical to fit the screen, and then I had the same thing, and I just panned it down a little bit. What I did for this was I just drew it a slightly larger than the screen could hold, and then sort of to mimic a camera panning down or tilting down. Excuse me. My broadcasting teacher kill me if she heard me say panning down. Tilting down, the camera tilts down and it shows this rock where that's sort of what I'm mimicking with that. And then obviously the framing here. You've got one scene, then you got the same scene, but now another character is talking. It's trying to basically mimic how a cartoon or a camera motion would be. I've got motion blur to try and show the movement of characters or objects. Especially this down here where she's shaking her head very fast, and you can see like multiple eyes and mouths and head in different directions and stuff. It's all fun stuff. It's all really fun trying to do this in interesting ways. But yeah. So and again, especially whenever it gets to like this, I'm trying to I'm trying to be diverse with how I'm showing this, rather than just a long wide shot of her grabbing the fence, a long wide shot of her stepping in poop, and then a big box of her with her face. I think it's more creative to try and do things a little bit differently. Try and have things sort of boxes going in front of each other with space for things like squish and cutie, where she's yelling it, and having the text also kind of alternate heights as well. And then immediately going into this exaggeration once again with the hand being gigantic. Um, it's sort of like that's sort of the goal, is to try and present things in a more interesting way, rather than just like, for instance, this one is mainly just squares. There's a square here, rectangles down here, then there's square, it sort of doing this all the time would be boring. So I try and spice it up with this. Like, I have a box showing it's zooming in, basically showing what she is reaching for in the fridge. It's a Go-Gurt. And and there's Ramones pizza. There it is. It's Ramones. If you don't know, that's a running joke that Ramones is in every work I make. Every story there is a Ramones in it somewhere. So so yeah, and then sometimes I just have empty boxes where I can put the words in, and that fits with the dialogue, trying to get that, again, visual presentation, trying to get that diverse and never getting too boring, especially with stuff like this. Whenever you go full screen or full page rather, and show the full artwork like this, I feel like that's definitely a big eye catcher compared to some of this. After you see several images, several artworks per page, having something this big is definitely eye catching. So moving on, we've got again a lot of compartmentalizing here. Got it's slanted. All of this stuff is kind of in unique shapes here. This has 5 sides to it. This only has 3. This only has this only has this only has, this has 4, but it's slanted. So it's like I'm trying to make the presentation part of the art. Trying to make it to where people reading this are not only being focused on the artwork and hopefully liking it, reading the dialogue and liking the characters, hopefully, but not only that, but they're also liking the presentation of the frame of the comic itself. So, and then again, moving over here, once again, the shot is divided into, it's almost like a shattered glass, sort of showing each close-up shot of V angry, and focusing on like the certain points, focusing on the certain points, like her mouth, how she's sort of gnashing her teeth, her fingers are grabbing her hand is grabbing the chair tightly, so it's a kind of indenting. And even like the framing of this page, of going back to this one, V is stuck in the corner with her parents sort of arguing around her about what her life should be. And that's how she feels. She feels cramped in this corner, being overshadowed and trapped by her parents. And so that's sort of the feeling that I'm mimicking with trying to have her take up a very little part of the screen, and it's mostly her dad. And then, her mom pops up, and she's mentioning something about that it should be her choice, but she's the only hope here that she has of getting out of this argument. But her dad is not having it. It's getting madder and madder. And even like little environmental details like the paper, the little drawing of was presumably her family. It was presumably the family when V was very young and much smaller, holding on to her mom and dad's arms as they're carrying her, and showing a sign of there might have been better days to this family. Maybe it wasn't always like this. Yeah, you see the button over here. Then zoom in. You got Night Vision's hand reaching for it, his fingers sticking out to push the button. And this is the last page again, where the action picks up, being less focus on the background and more focus on the action itself. So I removed the background and I put in this sort of action lines effect where green is bright, solid color with some gradients around the corners, and these little action lines showing a sense of movement, a sense of intensity, speed. And so obviously, if a character is interacting with the background, such as me kicking the door in, I'm going to draw the background. I'm going to show the door getting kicked in. But if it's something like this where I'm focusing only on the action, I can remove the background, only focus on the actual action. So yeah, that's just basically the breakdown so far of what's going on with Lil Miss Steel as a comic adaptation. I would really like to go back and do this for all of my projects. I was thinking about it on the drive home from work today. Work that is a full-time job that prevents me from from doing this more than what I want to. But I really want to go back and do Demonico like this so I could pitch it as well. Symbiotic, I want to do that because Symbiotic was I think it's a very fun project that is kind of superhero like. It is very similar and I guess the tone as a Little Miss. So a little more My Hero Academia, I guess, on that one. But yeah, I wish I could go back and do comic adaptations. Issue, I definitely feel like I want to do because I did a lot of artwork already for you. I feel like I could do it for the rest of it. But again, that project, people were not as enthusiastic about that one. So I'm trying to capitalize on the interest in Little Miss Steel, trying to get this going, and I really feel like this is my best work yet as far as writing. I'm really happy with the art, and I want people to get excited about comics and God willing, cartoons. I want to see that excitement that I had growing up. I want to see kids, excited. I want to see freaking action figures of friggin' Night Vision and Miss Steel and Little Miss Steel and Stonehold and all the characters I made. That would be awesome. It's a pipe dream, but it's an awesome dream. One that I'd have a hard time waking up. But yeah, that is basically what I wanted to show you guys today. I wanted to show you the progress of it. Remind you guys that this is going to be a physical print with the intent of all proceeds, all the money made from it to help my brother's cancer treatment. Again, one more time, thank you all for supporting him. Fund me, I really appreciate that. If you want to donate without using GoFundMe, EV Comics Cash App is $EV Comics, no space. You can use it that way as well. So, thanks so much for watching. Till next time, peace out.